Hi, welcome to Self-Generated. My name is Steve. This is my podcast, online web series, conversation, whatever you want to call it. We're exploring the ideas of perception. And in this particular episode, we're exploring, for me, I think one of the most important ones, which is visual perception. And that I believe this is one of the places where the barrier between how we actually work through our consciousness and how we think we work is clearest. And that right now, as you see me, do you believe that you're experiencing me 100% in reality as is? No. I know a lot of people are going to go, well, maybe you look like that, but not 100%. But it's more because you're not here in the room with me. You're experiencing me through a camera lens, so you don't know if I'm AI. You don't know if I put on makeup. You don't know if I have a prosthetic. You don't know if I'm actually 3 feet tall. So you don't have a lot of your experiences, your visual experiences, and your other experiences to judge to say that you saw me 100% in reality. But let's just say I could snap my fingers and you're here right now and that you've replaced the camera. Would you then say you've experienced me 100% in reality? Well, here's the barrier, is that technically still isn't true. And so what I'm trying to explore and explain in this is that much of what we believe is that our visual experience, you would relate to, say, a 4K video or image. In reality, it's much more of an animation. It's a painting. It's an impression of reality. It's not a direct reflection of reality. There is not a little you in your head or somewhere in the universe sitting, watching the projection of the light coming in through your eyes on a screen somewhere behind your forehead. We might experience it that way, but you can very clearly see that your experience of vision is not that. That if you cross your eyes, you realize you have two eyes, and that's only when you cross them and you bring them back do you realize that your experience is somehow a combination of these two things. It's generated from these two eyes that are sending in signals. And the signals, if you wanted to say that you experience light 100% as is, if you experience me 100% as is in reality, like as the light comes in through your eyes, it'd be like this. Is that how you see me? Do you see me upside down? Do you see me colorless and blurry around the edges? Do you see me blurry in most of the picture except for the center? Do you see a bunch of blood vessels and blood cells? Do you have a large dark spot where the optic nerve would be? Do you have this twice over because you have two eyes? No. You don't have any of this because this is how you sample the world. How you experience it is different because this is generated. This is the data that's taken in, and it where you expect plus this meets your experience. And that if you experience the world like this, you'd be very upset. You wouldn't be able to function. We wouldn't work. You don't experience this because you don't experience the 4K. You don't experience reality as is. You experience it as you expect it to be. And that your vision in total, I'm a little older, so it's easier for me to tell, like when I'm trying to read and it's blurry, I have to move my focal point. I see where the edges of my focal point are a little bit more. Back then when I had better than 20/20 vision, that wasn't as obvious. But that the totality of this nice big color experience is not what I think it is. We're going to go straight to the meat of the nut on an experiment that just completely dispels that any idea that there is some fluky little thing that you're missing here, right? This is an adaptive to screen display. The video for this is a PBS video that is in the description. A person will put their face in a display. Their faces are in a stand in front of a display. On that display, they'll have a camera, and that whatever's on the display will be tracked and matched with the person's eye movements. Now, right here, we'll see that there is mostly blurry, and then one square that is clear, and then the next screen will show that that square moved, so when the person's eyes moved. The idea is wherever that person's eyes move shows that nice little clear square, even though the majority of the screen is blurry, the person's fundamental experience of their vision does not change. But you and I, standing back here, can see the majority is blurry. The person looking at doing the experiment does not experience anything different. They experience their vision like normal because their vision is not a direct reflection of reality. It is this sampling and generation. And that if you do it with reading, same thing. You can make every other letter that is not being read, that is not in the field of view of the fova, of the center of the eye, an X. People can read without any problem, long as the camera is able to track the eye movements. How? Because your experience is generated. This information comes in, and your actual experience is not just it projected onto a screen, it is generated. All right? Now, the idea is that even if you notice the screen kind of jumps here, our eyes, we think of them moving nice and smooth across when we're moving them around, but they move in jaggedy little ways called saccades, saccadic rhythms, and saccadic masking. What saccadic masking is when our eyes move, our brains are not processing visual information. And so that's why you don't necessarily notice your blindness when you blink. You don't necessarily notice blindness when you move your eyes. So we know that you don't process visual information when your eyes are moving, but you can experience for yourself. If you look in a mirror, you can't see your own eyes move. You can take your camera, put it front facing, move your eyes around. You can't experience seeing your own eyes move. If you think about it throughout the day, you blink constantly, you're constantly moving your eyes. And if you're blind during that time, you would have a ton of blindness throughout the day that you don't experience. You don't experience any of that because you don't experience reality as is. You don't experience the light coming in through your eyes as is. You experience the generation of what you believe it to be. Excuse me. You wouldn't want to process visual information as your eyes moved. It could make you sick. It would be hard to follow that information. It's not as informative based off of how much we can process at any given moment. And so it would be detrimental. But we don't experience any pause because we don't just experience the projection of the light. You don't in any way, shape, or form. When you wake up in the middle of the night and you look in the darkness and all of a sudden there's something, a mass there, and if you experience anxiety and it slowly resonates down until you can perceive what it is, maybe you have to get up, maybe you have to turn on the light, but it pops into what is existence, and it's a pile of clothes, it's a chair, whatever it is. Why did you experience it that way? Is it just because it's dark? Because think about it. When you experience it, you see things kind of almost moving in the dark, like you're trying to make out patterns, because your brain is trying to process and create those patterns. Depending on what you believe to be true, if you're the anxious type, you're going to more apt to experience ghosts in the middle of the night. You're going to more experience, what is that? What is that thing there? And then when you go and you check, and it might not be anything. And that I have run into this myself throughout the totality of my life. It's not that the things started to leave me and that I'm no longer being bothered or followed by them. It's that I don't look for them and I don't see them. I don't experience them. And that's part of the totality of our visual, auditory, touch, taste, every part of your experience, because there's not one that happens to be more real than the other. Your brain is locked into the skull, completely in darkness. All it has is the signals coming in, which are just signals, electrical, chemical signals, and all it has compared to those, because they're not labeled, is what those things have meant in the past, or at least what they've encoded them to mean in the past. That's it. And that so when you are experiencing vision, you are seeing things, and that, like, for example, the blue gold dress, how novel and funny that was. It's a window to active inference. It's not goofy. It's not that some people are left-eyed or right-eyed or some horseshit TikTok nonsense. It's that some people have a predisposition to a model that light is coming from the inside or outside. It's because you're a creature of active inference. Every visual, at least that I can think of, every visual optical illusion is a window to active inference, not to, oh, my eyes don't work so good. Hollow mask. You see and experience a face like normal in the hollow inside of a mask. Why? Because you don't experience reality as is. You experience it as you believe it to be. The illusory contours with triangles and squares. You experience these even though there's no actual physical triangle there. You experience it because you experience the world based off of what you predict and not as what's 100% real. When you look at the Rubens vase illusion, you see a face, you see a vase, you see a vase, you see a face. You can experience both, but you have to switch between them. When you go through and you experience black and white illusion, there's images here that are black and white. Can you tell what they are? They just look like blobs, right? Now I show them in color. Do they make sense what they are? Now I show them again in black and white after showing them in color. So I show them again. You don't experience the blobby black and white from the beginning. You can't, because you've changed your model. You can't just willfully change your experience, because your experience is not just the black and white light coming off of the thing into your eyes, right? That it is the generation of what you expect. And so it formatively, fundamentally changes everything. That your experience of vision is not just your eyes, is not just the light. That things like color consistency, that color is not a thing in the universe. If an alien race came down and you wanted to talk about what is a more ethical color, green or yellow, they wouldn't know what the fuck you're talking about, because color is just the fact that certain things, the light that refracts off is captured by our retina and converted in an electrical chemical signal in a certain way, and we apply meaning to it. What? It's helpful that we look at it this way, because color is not, again, something in the universe. If I show different images of bananas in different color scenarios with different light, they don't change that much, because your experience of the color is more based off of what you believe than just the light coming off of the item. And that our vision, these optical illusions that we keep seeing, if we look at static images that appear to move, at any other number of interesting visual illusions that come up, that they are. And what's your favorite one? Actually, if you have one, leave it in the comment section. Or if you actually have it hit me up on X. We'll do a thread. But the idea is that these things are windows to not you being stupid, not that I'm being Cthulhu, my mind's not working too good. This is a window to how your mind actually works, and that you're not meant to see reality 100% as is, not from some game or gimmick, because in nature, good enough is a biological imperative. You don't need to see 100% reality. You only need to see a good enough swath of it to survive. And then we think that sounds stupid or dumb, or that humans are above that. But all of those senses, all of those ideas are just the stories we tell ourselves. And that we and our expectations come from that and not reality. Because we're creatures that are not built to take in reality 100% as is. If you did, you would see me as this blurry, upside down, with blood vessels, and that wouldn't work, right? You wouldn't be, there's a whole spectrum of light. You're not Superman. You don't see X-rays. You don't see infrared. You only see this one little swath of the visual spectrum. And it's because that's all that we biologically need in order to function as we've functioned. And that if you need to believe that what you see is 100% true, that you're going to have problems. We live in a world with AI. You can't. You cannot. You can't. If you do, you become part of the societal problem. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you need for this fake video to be real, that we're going to have a problem. We see that in this world right now. Part of the problem is because people assume that what they feel, what they see, what they taste, what they touch, what they believe is 100% real. And that anything less than 100%, anything is a threat, is an undermining, a removing of their authenticity, an act of war. And that's absurd. But we live in that world because we think that our perceptions are 100% reality. We believe that they're 100% reality. Because even though we're not directly taught, it's implied. Because what would have to change if we acknowledge that your vision is not 100% reality? Well, I don't know. How about eyewitness testimony? I'm not here to undermine the whole criminal justice system, but it's kind of like a key part that, like, you saw what you saw, 100% you saw what you saw. When you recall, when you have memories, it's almost like a tape deck recollection of that, when in fact it's actually a reconstitution, a reconstruction based off of the sensory information, which is already not 100% true. And it's not that you've got to throw everything out. No, but it's that you can't accept it 100% without looking at it. But why can't we look at that? Because that's true. And no, we have to throw out what we believe, who we are, how we work, to accept what's true. So no matter how true something is, can you see it? Can you experience it if you don't believe it? We talk about like a guy can't find the thing in the fridge, or you can't find your keys on the table even though they're right there, and we think our eyes are bad, or that you're just not built to see colors, or some fucking nonsense, versus that if you don't interact with that thing, if it's not part of your life, that it's, if you weren't present when you put the thing down, that you don't experience it when you're looking for it. Your experience of literally seeing the literal no bullshit world in front of you is just as impinged by what you believe, your mindset, how you're thinking, as your eyes, is a game changer. It changes everything. Your perceptions are not just the physical connections. It's what you think they are, how you work them, how you've related to them, how you hone them. And that's a totally different story than, I don't know about you, but than what I was taught. And that I didn't believe any of this stuff was true or could be true until I stopped resisting it, until I stopped making it an enemy. And then all of a sudden I started changing how I experience. So what I mean by I change how I experience is, if I used to see somebody acting stupid, as I would recall, say being in what I would call as being stupid, or I experience seeing somebody doing something that upset me, I would internalize it. I would get upset. I would see this behavior. I would get, rah, rah, rah. And now, most of the time, I don't even notice those things. Those things don't come to my attention, because it's not that they're not happening. It's that I was generating them. My attention, what I was focused on, would go to that because of who I thought I was, what was important. When I remove those stipulations, I experience the world differently. I see people differently. I don't need people to be something other than what they are. And that I'm able to accept things far greater, far easier, but it's because I understand that they're not 100% reality, and I don't need them to be a certain percentage. I don't need them to define that. They are what they are. And part of how I started that was understanding that what I perceived was not 100% reality, but it was definitively what I thought reality was. And then if you have questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. Whether you dislike me or not, go ahead and engage. The system does not care. Just like us, the algorithm doesn't care about reality, it just cares about engagement.